Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. I am DM Bloodworth, and as you can see by the graphics, today I'm going to do a first look and first impressions of Chalt, Fuchsia Malaise, which is an expansion of Chalt, written by Venger Satanis. So, if you're not familiar with what Chalt is a Gonzo sci-fi fantasy setting for 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. Although you could use other systems in it as well, because this is completely a setting book. Yes, there are some stats, but the stats like monster stats and such, but they are simplified enough that that they could be used in virtually any system whatsoever. So it does constitute, because of that fact, and others as well, as an OSR game, in my opinion. So what Fuchsia Malaise does is it expands upon this here. It is currently only out in PDF. It is still over 200 pages long, so it is a quite extensive PDF, and it's only $5 or $4.99 on Drivehtru RPG as well. So I'm going to do a brief walkthrough through the PDF. Also start off with the map, and I want to show that as well. So I'm going to shift views here. I'll begin with the map. So what I like about this map is that it just shows where the main features of Chalt are, on a map in relation to one another. You don't have to really deal with, hexes or any other kind of, trade routes or anything like that. You do have a small measurement here down at the bottom where each of those little boxes represents 1 week's worth of travel. And so you can basically measure that out on the map, with a ruler or with a piece of string or whatever you wanted to once you printed out the map. But very, very simple display of the map. I like the artistic value of this as well. So it just shows you that it can be fairly simple and yet still stylish and functional. So now I've played in 2 of Venger Satanis's game sessions so far. I think I missed one weekend, but he has been running tests through this using his Crimson Dragon Slayer game system set in Chalt, and you could also get that game system on Drivehtru RPG as well. And once again, a really, really simple system, a lot of fun to play it, and it's and that's free on Drivehtru RPG, so you don't have to worry about that costing you anything. So combined up, you could use that system with this setting, and you have a full game and setting for $5. Can't beat it. All right, so next we will go to this here. So as I said, it's actually 230 pages long, and very interesting art style. Full table of contents. So again, this is a source book. This is a settings book with including scenarios and encounters and such as well. But it's just laying down some of the emerging races. All right, so those that were not discussed in previous books. You have major city. You have the noble houses. You have the water ritual, which I haven't looked into it yet. The guided tour of exploring the city. And so all of the places within the city that were places of note. Then various encounters. So we'll take a look at each of these as I scroll through. And then galactic tyrants and interstellar warlords. So possibly some more, another faction preview. The Flesh Pit is a location. It's one of the scenarios. And I think we actually ran this in the session about 3 weeks ago, or at least a portion of the Fuchsia Flesh Pit. Then there's the Tower of Vramkod, which we'll take a look at, and a Tomb Elysium, I believe, is a city, and the Skaba pilgrimage is, again, another scenario that you can run. So let's start taking a look at this. So here's a smaller version of the map, split in two. Again, the artwork is phenomenal in this. So really high quality artwork. Here's a forward. The essentials, what this is about. So he describes it as OSR plus 5e. And I can see where he's doing that, because you're basically taking a rules light version of 5e and then sticking it into an OSR setting. And the settings themselves are very, I know he describes his own writing style and his own genre here as like a Gonzo OSR RPG. And with the quirkiness and the strangeness that's involved with that, you kind of get that sense right away that it is something that is really unique, I think, to his writing. So what's happening? So he sets it up. So if you were running some of the scenarios in Chalt, the initial book, then in this book here, it's going to continue at least a timeline. And so you could follow through. So there's a lot thrown into this system that, this setting that I can really appreciate. Oh, excuse me. I can really appreciate how much is actually in this as a supplement. Now I know he is planning a third book in this series because it was designed to be a trilogy of setting books. So I'm really looking forward to that as well. Looking forward to this coming out in a hard copy, so that I can, add it to the other end. I hope that he maintains, and I'd expect that he'd maintain the same printing quality, and the quality of that hardcover. Chalt was phenomenal, absolutely worth the money that I spent on it. So the emerging races, you have the Blue Velvet Elf, you have a Grog. Grogs are a sand construct conjured by ancient wizards from another world. Unlike magical constructs of water, ice, fire, and flesh, those made of sand are well suited to Chalt and have thrived since their appearance. Humans and half-elves. So these are variants of the humans and half-elves, I'm assuming. So they humans get an additional 2 hit points per level. And let's see about half-elves. Half-elves pick exactly 1 benefit while taking on all of the flaws or drawbacks of their particular elf subspecies. They also receive 1 hit point of additional per level due to their human heritage. The Vor is part reptile, part bird. With brownish-green humanoid race is extremely tall, averaging about 7 feet tall. The Visim is once cursed by their infernal heritage. The Visim used arcane wards to banish themselves outside time and space. Inexplicably, they wound up on Chalt. All right, so a strange race. I'm guessing these are. I'm guessing these are the examples. It would have been nice to have a picture of each. It goes into how alignment works, how loyalty works. If you're randomizing, so the alignment is a D4, loyalty is a D6. This is randomizing NPCs. So it's not player character. Generating motivating adventures. So this is a quick little chart if you wanted to throw together a very quick adventure. Determines personal station in life. So you could do this with players or with NPCs. Death is not the end, using a D12. So if your character falls unconscious, once they hit 0 hit points or below, then you would roll a D12 to determine what the effects of that are. Chalt names if you wanted to randomize names. A spacer's background. Reasons to hate off-worlders. Okay. What is that? Chata. He loves names that are hard to spell, hard to pronounce. Chatsky? It's almost like Chatsky. All right. Anyway, let's see. I said this is my first real scroll through to see what is going on here. Fuchsia Malaise and you. How has the Fuchsia Malaise epidemic affected your life? Roll on the following random table to determine your previous interactions with the off-world drug. All right, so now I know that Fuchsia Malaise is an off-world drug. And so we could roll, and let's say I rolled a 7. Your significant other kept taking Fuchsia Malaise until there was nothing left. Now they just stare up at the sky empty. It should have been at the empty sky, but all right. Interesting. Fuchsia haze. The effects of Fuchsia Malaise oscillate wildly, usually lasting about 3 hours per hit. What stage are you currently in? Roll on the following random table. All right, so let's say I rolled a 7 again. Uncontrollable laughter is the effect of the drug use. Dehydration. Well, Chalt is a desert planet, and so desert survival and dehydration and those kinds of mechanics are fairly important. Murder Hobo regrets. So let's see what he says about murder hoboing. Humanoids have souls and probably a conscience. Even surely self-serving survivalists have a shit day. After an irredeemable act of murder hoboism, humanoids must do something to mitigate the damage to their soul. Demons and elves are exempt, as demons have no soul and elves have 7 souls. If no act of contrition occurs while murder hobo participants are plagued with nightmares that even such fitful sleeps take away all states of advantage, and the following. Say a prayer for the fallen, notify the victim's next of kin. This is how you avoid any negative impact of against being able to roll with advantage the following day. Honoring the victim's memory in some way, murder one of your victim's enemies, all right, and so on. So there's several ways that you can avoid the negative effects of being a murder hobo. Factions and their beliefs. Some more incredible art. NPC traits. All 100 of them. Let's take a look at number 66. Scales. Greenish, gray, reptilian scale flesh. Okay. And let's see. How useful is this NPC? Let's see what 66 says again. Excuse me, 66. He can type at 60 words per minute. Crazed drug-induced visions. So various types of hallucinations. The aftermath of hallucinations. What does a demon offer you? Demonic favors. D20 NPC interactions. So again, this is very much a source book, and it is or a setting guide. Let's see. We go to the Golden City Gates on death and taxes, the various noble houses. Let's take a look at one of them. So, Kuad. The heads of this noble house have minds that can see what no one else can see. They view reality from the outsider's perspective, taking their own petty desires and delusions out of the equation. House Kuad are sought out for their strategic and tactical advice in problem solving. It is rumored that the Kuad are extremely wary of any demon influence in Agrabah. The outside-the-box thinking of House Kuad requires Zoth. They have their own refinement process that approximates the spices, melange, and ways adventurers are frequently hired to fetch Zoth from subterranean pools beneath Skaba. Skaba. All right, so so the world also has, its own local drugs or spices or chemical properties that are sought after. Let's take a look at one of the scenarios. I believe they were on page 74. Encounters. Let's see what an encounter is. Wasteland encounters. Various encounters are offered in a point crawl style. No measuring, no calculating. 15 degrees north and 32 degrees west. If you're heading in a direction, then you'll eventually run into things mentioned throughout this book. Okay, so yeah, so these are just you just roll to determine an encounter. All right, and so there's 12 very simple encounters that can be run. And this is probably a lot like what Venger has been running in his hour-and-a-half long little play sessions. Is these little brief encounters? Blood on his claw. This might be a scenario. clown worm, or very specific encounters. All right, here's scenarios. So the Fuchsia Flesh Pit. Background, the flare, the orifice, and then we go into... Let's see how long this goes. Flesh Cave, the Flesh Cavern, the Chocolate Room. Layla does. The gloves. Yeah, so this is all one scenario here. So from page 95, let's go back to the beginning. So basically from 84 to 95. So long enough to be a session or possibly 2-session long type of adventure. Probably run anywhere from 3 to 5 hours. Let's see, the tower. Here we're on page 96. Interesting map setup. You can see I'm only roughly halfway through the book, and I'm to the scenarios already. So there's a lot of dedication to encounters and scenarios in this, as well as NPC creation. Although I didn't do a rough page count on those. So this is a city. That's what it looks like. Very cool. And so you can see there's a lot of techno magic and, you know, everything kind of thrown in here. So it's a sci-fi, it's a fantasy, it's a lot of a mixture of genres, which I believe is what Gonzo is really described as. It's a mixture of fantasy and sci-fi, and a whole lot of alien races and weirdness thrown in. And this is just still describing the city. This Sakba pilgrimage. I don't know if this is a full adventure or a scenario. It looks like a full adventure. Then we get to the appendix. So this is the game system that we've been using the last couple of weeks, running through his one-shots basically. Although we've been using some reoccurring characters, and with the PDF, you're actually getting this included in here, so you don't have to get 2 separate PDFs, you know, for this. So yeah, he details this here. And I have a video specifically on this rule set. So that's pretty cool that he included it here. And I think this is going to be number 3, is Ascendant. And he might just be doing a little preview here. Like I said, this is my first real scroll through of everything that is in this. So This series is really a good series. So old school Renaissance, like a boss. I'll cut out the curse. Um, the OSR, so he'll go through and he gives his definition of the OSR, which might be different than other people's. Um, but I certainly like what he does with his definition of the OSR as well. He sets up rules for how to play. Actually gives you a full PDF version of how to do an OSR game, so how to play it. So that was a separate PDF as well. So as you can see, there's a whole lot there for $5. You really can't go wrong, and with the expectation that in the weeks or months to come, a hardcover version of this will be available, and I'm certainly looking forward to that as well. And I've been playing in it for these last 2 sessions that I was able to attend, and it's a lot of fun because I'm kind of expecting that weirdness, and super cautious about everything because it might be 5e, but it's not as forgiving as regular 5e is, especially since we're using a different game system. But it's still, even that game system was inspired, to a certain degree of some of the gameplay choices or gameplay mechanics that you'd find in most OSR games anyhow. So once again, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I certainly enjoy reading through these books as I come across them, and certainly will love to look to see actually running a one shot in this for myself as a GM. I'd like to give it a try, and I'm certainly looking forward to playing some more sessions with Venger so I can see how it's supposed to be done. Once again, thanks for joining. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. I'm currently running a giveaway for Survive This Fantasy RPG by Bloat Games. Tuesday will be a drawing for 3 copies of the PDF for that game system, because that was part of my 800 sub benchmark celebration. If I hit 900, I will do that again. I have as many as 5 complete copies of the PDF, or actually 4 complete copies, both books, of the PDF to give away, or I could split them up and spread it out amongst more people so that you would get, either the DM's copy or the player's copy. I'll see how that works out. I'll see how this first giveaway goes. I might just give away 3 now, 1 later, and then I have the hard copy or softcover copy versions of the books to give away as well, which will come at 1,000. So once again, thanks for joining. I hope you have a great weekend going forward. Today is Saturday. Always lose track of time. So have a great weekend. Stay safe out there, and I look forward to seeing you on the gaming screen sometime soon. You'll have a great afternoon.